Not because AA saved my life, but because I saved my own damn life. I'm the one who looked myself in the mirror. And I knew I was dying. It was like my soul was about to leave my body. And I knew I was dying. And it was scary. I felt like I was looking into an empty shell. I said, I can't do this anymore. And then I told my friend, I can't do this anymore. That was my declaration or my resolve to change. Because I knew I was about to die. It was really bad at the end. I can't do this anymore. Hello and welcome to the Sobriety Bestie Podcast. I'm super excited you're here for a great episode, which I hope to hear from you a lot in the comments on this one. Let's add them up. Let's have a conversation. This is about common abuse and mistreatment in Alcoholics Anonymous. Y'all probably know by now. If you don't, if you're new here, I was in AA for 10 years and I left 5 years ago. And the way that I am now in my deconstructing AA journey is that I think AA ideology in and of itself is harmful. That means I would never recommend anybody to go to AA. And I don't think there's any way to do AA without being harmed by it. The same way that I don't think, no matter how big the pitcher of water is, I don't think there is any way to drink from that pitcher of water and be hydrated and get benefits if there's poison in the pitcher. That's how I feel about it. So today we're going to be talking about the common abuse and mistreatment in AA. This is coming and inspired by the book Rational Recovery. I loved this book. If you haven't read this book yet, it's called Rational Recovery, The New Cure for Substance Addiction, The Revolutionary Alternative to Alcoholics Anonymous by Jack Trimpey. And I did a review on this book. You can watch that up here if you want. And I want to just read through some of what he says are common abuse and mistreatment things in AA. See what this stirs up for you. This is really about freedom. That's the way that I look at this. It's to activate critical thinking, because the more that I dive into AA, deconstructing AA stuff, including reading this book and even reading the harmful parts of AA, it stirs me up some memories. It helps me see the past a little more clear. It helps me work through some of my blocks. It helps me open up pockets of freedom. It's all about critical thinking and self-trust. And so hopefully this activates some of that in you and some more freedom for you. Okay, now number one, the book is talking about how these are common reports of abuse and mistreatment that they received at their main office. This book was written 30 years ago, so this is all from the 90s, but it is still relevant. It is still relevant because we're just talking about the effects of AA, which has not changed since the 1930s and not changed ever. Okay, so number one, you were told by a licensed professional person that the reason you use drugs or drink alcohol excessively is because you have a progressive, inheritable physical disease called alcoholism or addiction. I agree that that is super harmful. That is dangerous to tell someone that they have a progressive, inherited physical disease called alcoholism. Literally, you can't be diagnosed with that in the United States. That is an idea. That is a thought. When people take ideas as facts, I just feel like it's really dangerous because there's really big stakes here on this concept of having a fatal progressive disease. It means all sorts of things, doesn't it? It means you need to go to, if you believe AA ideology, you have to go to AA forever, you have to free labor, you have to sponsor, you have to do the steps, you have to participate in meetings. It's like a part-time job. It stunts our growth. That's time we could be spending on building our life. That's super dangerous to teach learned helplessness. We've talked about this before, how like the elephant, the baby elephant who is tied on a rope to a stake in the ground. He runs, he jumps, he tries to move all around, and he can't break free because he's not big enough and strong enough yet. The stake in the ground is enough with the rope on the elephant to hold it in place. So then the elephant grows up and is now older and is stronger and could very easily snap the stake out of the ground, but it doesn't even try because it has already learned helplessness. It's already learned that it can't break free. So even when it can break free, it doesn't try. To me, that's what AA is. Even when we get a little time up sober and we're fine and we can leave, we don't because we've been trained that we can't, because the brainwashing is that we're fatally progressive disease, forever hopeless, forever recovery model. So we don't even try because we don't think that we can when we can, just like the elephant. Number two, you were told that you could not learn to abstain from alcohol or drugs by relying on your own abilities, or that you are powerless to abstain on your own. If you are struggling with addiction right now, or somebody who is, or you want to learn more about what he's talking about, I definitely recommend reading this book, Rational Recovery. It was such a game changer for me. And I haven't had a drink since 2009. So this, for me, it just shifted my thinking. So it was a good, helpful book for me of deconstructing AA ideology from my brain. It opened up freedom for me, even though for me, it's not about staying sober. I am sober. Number 3, you were told that Alcoholics Anonymous is the only program or approach that is effective with the problems of alcoholism and addiction. Yeah, that's really dangerous to be told that, isn't it? We all know people who are no longer alive who were told that AA is the only way and AA wasn't working for them. We also know that AA works for 5% of people about. It's hard to know exactly, right? The stats on an anonymous program. But most surveys come back to about 5%. I read a book that said it was 5% for men, 3% for women. Some people say 10%. Regardless, it's not working. Most people recover on their own. Also, my sponsor told me that the only problem I have is called alcohol addiction or alcoholism. And the only solution that I ever need for anything, any problem in my life ever, is the 12 steps. So I was explicitly told. And so she didn't have to say, don't get outside help. She told me with other words. The words were, your only problem is alcoholism. So I didn't even think to go to get assessed with anything else in my life, mental health, neurodivergence, anything, because I was explicitly told it's all alcoholism. So yeah, that's dangerous. Number 4, you were told that the 12-step spiritual healing program of Alcoholics Anonymous is not religious. That is so funny, because I knew it was a religious cult when I got there. I mean, did you? What did you think before you ever went to AA? I thought it was a religious cult, and I got there. They're like, we're not a religion. Like, bro, what do you mean? Can you imagine? Like, it's not like when I go to Starbucks, they're like, we're not a religion. We're not a religion, to be clear. Or if you go to like Costco or Trader Joe's or any Walmart, any place, they're not saying they're not a religion because they're not a religion. If you're not a religion, you don't have to say you're not a religion. Like, it's ridiculous. It's a pathway to God. That's called a religion, you know? Like, it's spiritual, not religious. No, that's like literally gaslighting. What were you told when you got there? Were you told it was spiritual, not religious? I certainly was. Okay, number 5. You were told that in order to remain sober and or have a meaningful life, you must adhere to or accept the belief system presented in the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. Yeah, I was told that basically in order to live, I needed AA. I needed to practice the principles in all of my affairs in order to have I needed to do the whole thing in order to simply live. That's the threat, right? That's the death threat, that you're going to, if you don't do the 12 steps, you're going to drink, and to drink is to die. That was the message that I got told all the time. It sounded different. It's not all just so explicitly said directly, right? Like, my sponsor didn't say never get outside help. She said your only problem is alcoholism, which is the same thing. So it's not all explicit. We're told it in different ways. But I was told that if I don't do the work in the program, I could be what's called an untreated alcoholism or a dry drunk. These made up terms that simply just mean that you need to do more of Bill's program, essentially, which is complete cult religion bullshit. And that if I don't do it all, then I'm going to drink surely. I'll have untreated alcoholism. And because I have untreated alcoholism, my spiritual malady is going to get my obsession of the mind up. And then once I inevitably drink, I'm going to have a physical allergy and I won't be able to stop. And then it's going to lead me to a jail institution or a death. That's, when I say it now, it sounds like such bullshit. It's clearly manipulative, but I did believe all that and live that for 10 years. And unfortunately tell other people that that was the truth too. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, if any of these are like ringing true for you. All right, number 6. You were told that you would inevitably drink alcohol or use drugs if you did not conscientiously believe the 12-step program. Okay, so that kind of overlaps with what I said for number 5. Yeah, absolutely, I was told that. What about you? Were you told that? Remember, these are all the dangers or the harms of AA. It's harmful to be told this stuff. So number 7. You were told that even if you abstained from alcohol, you would nevertheless be a, quote, dry drunk, seriously ill with the progressive disease of alcoholism. All right, so dry drunk is literally a made-up term by Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd say, I don't know if Bill made up that term. I'd say, like, my guess, let me know if you know the truth here, but my guess is that it just came about in the culture of AA, this concept of dry drunk. And what AA means by dry drunk, at least what it meant to me, what I was indoctrinated into believing it as, is you're a dry drunk if you're not drinking, so you're dry, but you're not doing the steps. So you're not sober somehow. Even though you're not drinking, you're not sober somehow. You're a dry drunk. No. No. I would say that a lot of what I think this so-called dry drunk thing is, it's either unresolved trauma, it's unacknowledged or untreated mental health stuff, maybe it's anxiety, depression, something else, maybe it's a so-called personality disorder, maybe it's neurodivergence, maybe it's a physical thing, maybe it's your nervous system has like a lot of environmental toxins going on, and the toxin load in your system, the burden of toxins in your system is at a point where your system is thrown into a fight flight mode. And that could be from a reaction to something like mold. It's called CIRS, or mast cell activation. Those things are definitely not the so-called dry drunk. Nothing really should be treated through the 12 steps. The 12 steps are a path to God. It is a religious conversion program. It is not an addiction recovery program. It literally is just not. So yeah, dry drunk's not a thing, although it's pointing to something. And I do believe that we can get support on the things that it's pointing to. Also, for me, alcohol was self-medication, and then Alcoholics Anonymous was self-medication. So then when I left AA and no longer had alcohol or AA to self-medicate with, I was learning how to adjust my nervous system to life without any self-medication. So yeah, that's not dry drunk. That's me learning how to regulate. A lot of this is just like dysregulation, and then why are we dysregulated? And number 8, you were depressed as a result of incoherent 12-step indoctrination and told that you were suffering symptoms of alcoholism such as dry drunk or denial. I mean, it's such gaslight bullshit when they say that if you have a problem with alcohol, how do we know? Because you're in the room. And nobody would be in the room if they didn't have a problem with alcohol. You're like, I don't think I'm an alcoholic. They're like, well, that's actually a symptom. So denying you're an alcoholic means you are an alcoholic. So like you're completely painted into a corner, and there's nothing that you can say other than conform to them or rebel and revolt and see it for what it is. Some people do bounce after the first meeting or the first whatever. He only went to 30 meetings, Jack, before he bounced. I went, unfortunately, to thousands of meetings over 10 years. I was in AA 10 and a half years. So yeah, there's the dry drunk thing or denial. It's brutal. All right, number 9. You were warned against leaving the recovery group or treatment program because you would inevitably drink again. Let me know in the comments. Were you told that to leave the group is dangerous? And by dangerous, I mean if you leave the group, you're going to end up in a jail, institution, or a death, or something inevitably, horrifically terrible is going to happen, catastrophic, Armageddon. Something really bad will happen if you leave the group. That is so controlling, manipulative, and that's giving cult vibes right there. So I was certainly told that. Were you? Some people deny that. Some people in the comments, the AA defenders, will say things like, no, I was never told that I was going to die if I left the meeting. I don't know where you heard that. I'm like, that was like at almost every meeting I went to. And while I understand that everyone had a different experience and not everyone experienced what I experienced, I totally get that. But it was at like pretty much every meeting I went to. And I was in the San Francisco Fellowship for like 4.5 years. I was in the San Diego Fellowship for 6 months. And the rest of my AA life was in Bali, Indonesia. So about half in Bali, half in San Francisco, and then a little bit in San Diego. Plus I traveled a lot and went to a lot of meetings in other American cities, other international cities. I was even in Sydney in like the Bondi area, Bondi Junction, Bondi Beach, and went to meetings there for 5 weeks. So I went to meetings in different countries and in different states of America. And pretty much it was everywhere I went that you were going to die if you leave the group. Now, I get that not everybody heard that. By the way, there are 33 of these in here, but I'm just going to keep it to the first 10. I do recommend reading the book, but I thought 10 was enough to get us started in the conversation. Plus the other ones go on to people who were court ordered or other examples, which I think are super important and relevant, but I just want to keep it light and tight. We're going to keep it on 10. All right, number 10. You were told that your objections or questions about the 12-step program or addiction treatment program were in themselves symptoms of the fatal disease, alcoholism or addiction. Yeah, I already mentioned this earlier as an explanation to something else. Let me know if you were told that denying either 12-step or 12-step treatment or alcoholism or whatever was a symptom of your fatal progressive disease. When I got to rehab, I knew I had a problem with alcohol. That's why I went to rehab, right? I went to rehab because I was having a problem with alcohol. I was having a lot of anxiety disorders, and I felt like it was killing me. It was killing me, and I wanted to get better. So I was not in denial that I had anxiety. I was not in denial that I had an alcohol problem. They told me I was in denial because I said, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to AA. I don't want to do alcoholic. I don't want to do any of that shit. I want to go to rehab, and I want to get my life back on track. And so from the start, I was told that I was in denial. And even when we sat around the rooms at rehab, I was like the rebel. Let me know how you felt about embracing the term alcoholic. This should be a fun conversation in the comments. So I was the one in rehab when they were going around the circle. There was like, hey, I'm Jamie, I'm an alcoholic. I'm Bob, I'm an alcoholic. I'm Bill W, alcoholic, whatever. And I said, I'm Kirsten, I have anxiety. And so that's where I was at. It wasn't until I went to AA that I was coerced into saying that I was an alcoholic. I never vibed with that term. I currently don't vibe with that term. I think, yes, for sure, I was addicted to alcohol. On the alcohol use disorder scale, I would have been severe. Looking at the questions, I can go back into how I was drinking in 2009. And like, yes, I would qualify for severe alcohol use disorder. It was really bad. It almost killed me. It was really messed up. It is wonderful that that's not my life anymore. And it's not my life anymore, not because AA saved my life, but because I saved my own damn life, which was a big epiphany for me. I'm the one who went to rehab. Literally, I'm the one who looked myself in the mirror. And through whatever miraculous moment there of mystery, because I don't know how it all works, right? Something stared back at me in the mirror, and I knew I was dying. It was like my soul was about to leave my body, and I knew I was dying. And it was scary. I felt like I was looking into an empty shell, like terrified. And so what came after that was I said, I can't do this anymore. And then I told my friend, I can't do this anymore. That was like my prayer or my declaration or my like resolve to change, because I knew I was about to die. It was really bad at the end. I can't do this anymore. And so because of that, I told a friend, I'm drinking really bad. I told my brother, I told my friend, and I told my neighbor. I figured if I told 3 people in different areas of my life, it would keep me accountable in case I changed my mind. And then I signed up for rehab, which was not fun, not easy, and a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money. And I went to rehab, and then I went to AA, then I got therapy, then I learned to meditate, then I did all the things, read all the books, did all things. So I took all that effort, and I did all those things. Yet AA, of course, claims that it's the one that saves our life, right? But so if I say that I don't need 12-step or that I'm not an alcoholic, then I'm in denial. I was never in denial that I had an alcohol problem. I just don't even buy the whole denial thing. Is just such a gaslighting thing. I'm so cautious with that word denial. It just feels like if you're trying to convince somebody that they're in denial, like I feel like it needs to be held loosely, because gaslighting is when you're telling somebody that their reality is wrong. You're trying to convince somebody that they cannot trust their perception. And I don't know. I feel like people who have problems with alcohol know they have a problem with alcohol. That's why they're even seeking help in the first place. That's why they'd go to an AA meeting. Maybe that you don't understand how big your problem is. Maybe you're not aware of certain aspects of it. You don't understand it. But I think we all know we have a problem. I don't know. That's just my thought. I certainly can't know what anybody else thinks, but I was never in denial that I had a problem. But AA convinced me that I was in denial. And that's why I didn't identify as an alcoholic. I was told, because I was in denial. When I got to AA, they were trying to convince me I was in denial, like hardcore. So in the AA Alcoholics Anonymous book, there is a story called, in part 2 in the stories, it's called number 7, Crossing the River of Denial. That's what an AA member told me. My first AA friend was like, you should read Crossing the River of Denial. And why was she telling me to read that? Because I was saying I'm not an alcoholic. So she's pushing on me, indoctrinating me into the idea that I'm an alcoholic and that I don't know it. And because I don't know it, of course I am it. And it's just a circular manipulative bullshit. What do you think? There are 10 ways that we can be abused or mistreated in Alcoholics Anonymous. I read the top 10. There's more in the book. I want to know what came up for you. What do you think? Did you relate to any of them? Were any of those true for you? What do you think? What is your experience? Let's get free, people. And I have something really fun. It's called the Deprogram Lounge. It is a community of people deconstructing AA ideology. We have a book club. We have Deprogram Zooms and deconstructing AA content. It is all free. I'll link it below. It is called the Deprogram Lounge. If you're vibing it, I'll see you in the lounge. Also, I would love to see you in the comments. So let me know what came up for you in this video. Let's have it be a conversation down there. All right, take care. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.